Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Friday, May the 6th. Race number 11 at Churchill Downs. It's the grade one, $1.25 million Kentucky Oaks. The best three-year-old fillies in the land, going a mile and an eighth. Let's take a look at this overflow field. And remember, you can view free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. Mike, this field is so deep that you've got an undefeated champion. The number 7, Echo Zulu, she's the third choice.
Yeah, we'll see how the wagering plays out. I don't know if you're really going to get that price on her, but maybe you will, Dan. This is a big field, full gate of 14, and there's not a lot of filler in here. There's a lot of talent.
And if there's one thing we know about Echo Zulu, she is real fast out of the gate. Let's see where she stacks up on the Timeform US pace projector. They have her right up close to the pace, but right to her inside is Yuugiri, gate-to-wire winner of the Fantasy last time out. I think Florent Giroux is going to make Echo Zulu run in the early portion of this race. The problem is, if that happens, they could go fast and burn each other out.
It's definitely a possibility, Dan. We'll see how they decide to play. You know, Echo Zulu's going. She's just a really fast horse, and so far they've really taken no prisoners with her in any of her races. But Yuugiri's, she's fast as well. So I don't know if they're going to necessarily back off in this race. She's going to be a big price, but that doesn't mean they're going to concede.
How deep is this field? The number 1, Secret Oath, one of the more talented runners in this crop. She is 6-1 on the morning line. She's won her last 3 races against fillies by a combined 23 lengths. And last time out, she was favored over a couple of horses that are going to run in the Kentucky Derby, went a good third in the Arkansas Derby. How good is Secret Oath? Let's watch her performance in the Honeybee. She starts back where she made a big, bold move to the front and she kept right on rolling. This is a very talented horse, Mike. Are you concerned a little bit about the inside post?
No, I love the inside post. This is a great draw for her. She gets to break from the inside and just save as much ground as she needs to save. And listen, it's not like, she's a slow horse early, Dan. She can go forward in that run to the first turn and get a spot, sort of mid-pack if she has to, or even closer if the pace isn't fast. I love the inside draw for her. And I like her getting back in with fillies. Listen, was she ever going to win the Arkansas Derby? Probably not. She did have enough trouble in that race if you want to give her an excuse. I still don't think she was ever going to win, but that's not a knock on her. That's a decent horse that wound up winning that race. Her last 3 starts against fillies, they're all really, really strong performances. And at that time, she was just getting better and better and better. Now she's back in with fillies, and I think there's a good trip coming from the rail.
What's notable about her in my eyes is that wonderful push button acceleration, and I expect we're going to see that on the second turn of the Kentucky Oaks. The number 2 is Nostalgic, and maybe Bill Mott's getting this horse good at just the right time. Really nice trip win in the Gazelle last time out. Let's watch Nostalgic ride the rail every the way to deny pace-setting Venti Valentine, who's also in this year's edition of the Kentucky Oaks. Nostalgic sat in behind the pace, shot on through. It was a really good performance for her. And if the track comes up wet, and again, we are expecting a little bit of rain in Kentucky this week, Medaglia d'Oro, 16% winners from wet track runners.
Yeah, she's another filly who's it feels like she's just getting better at the right time, Dan. The distance is no issue for her. And she's drawn inside again, which is a really good thing for her. Listen, I don't know if she's going to be able to trip out again in this race like she has done in each of her first 2 starts as a 3-year-old. I mean, you can't get more perfect trips than she's gotten in her first 2 starts back, but maybe she'll get another one. And she's got forward to go, this horse. She could turn out to be really, really good.
But you're right about the distance. She really seemed to be lengthening her stride at the end of that mile and an eighth Gazelle. Hidden Connection is up next. She was a very exciting 2-year-old blowout winner of her first 2 starts, notably in the Pocahontas in her second lifetime effort at Churchill Downs. She likes the going here. Now, she's had 2 races at the fairgrounds, and she's improved incrementally from each start. She almost caught Echo Zulu last time out on the Fairgrounds Oaks, and I like that she's adopted a more patient running style this year.
I like that too. We'll see if she can. I think she has to improve again if she's going to beat this field. So we'll see if she can do it. In the Rachel Alexandra off the layoff there, Dan, she sort of inherited the lead there when the horse that was up front with her just sort of went wrong and dropped out of the race. But that was still a really solid pace. And I thought that was a pretty good return from the layoff for her. Boy, it just feels like the more you watch that Fairgrounds Oaks, if she was ever going to beat Echo Zulu, wasn't she going to do it last time, Dan? I don't know. I think she had a real shot to do it there, and she came up short.
Well, she had the fitness advantage, to be sure. Do you think a mile and an eighth is pushing it a little bit for this talented filly? Do you think she might be more of a miler type?
That's certainly possible. I mean, I'm not looking at her that way at this point, if only because in her most recent start, she was really surging actually at the end of that race to make it close. So maybe she can get the extra ground.
She's never raced over a wet track. Her sire gets 11% winners on off going. The 4 is Nest. Don't worry about a wet track with Nest. Look what she did in the Ashland last time out over good going at Keeneland. And she was forced to go 4 wide, exiting the backstretch all the way through the turn. She simply swept by this field. She earns a 92 Beyer speed figure. I think Todd Pletcher has managed her beautifully this year. He found a great spot for her seasonal debut against much lesser in the Suncoast, and she really took a step forward here in the Ashland. I have a question for you, though, Mike. While a mile and an eighth is not going to be a problem for her, she is, of course, the winner of the Demoiselle last year. Have you noticed that in 2 starts, they tried to get her off the rail early and outside and into the clear? And I wonder if they could do that from post 4 here.
That's actually a good point, because they have ridden her like that. And they even rode her like that when she won the Demoiselle over 9 furlongs as a 2-year-old. Dan, I mean, she must have been 4 wide around the track that day, not saving any ground at all. So that is an interesting point. We'll see what kind of, if she can get the trip she wants. I'm assuming it's not really an issue for her if she has to be over behind horses. But I guess we'll find out. Her Ashland was just so good last time, Dan, because even in that race, Irad used her a little bit early in that race. After she bumped a little bit at the start, he wanted her to be forward, and he used her to get there. And she still had that really strong finish at the end. She is getting better with every start right now, and there's just no telling how good she is.
Bigger price on her next door neighbor, her stablemate, the number 5, Goddess of Fire, also trained by Todd Pletcher. Mike, am I wrong to think that we still haven't seen this horse's best? I know she's been beaten by several horses in this field. Kathleen was just better than she was last time out in the Gulfstream Oaks, but I have a feeling that Gulfstream's really not the kind of track that plays to her strengths. I do like some of the mid-race bursts she's made in her races, and I think if they can be patient with her, she can come with a run and get a piece at a price.
That's a very interesting way to look at her, Dan. I almost took the opposite position on her and felt like because she has that one quick move in her, I just sort of wonder if she's not just going to wind up being a better closing sprinter than she is a 2-turn router. But I guess we'll find out. She deserves the chance to run in this race. Personally, in her 2 most recent starts where they went 2 turns with her, she ran fine both times and earned her way into this race. But I still feel like if she was good enough, she could have won either one of those races, and she wasn't good enough.
Did get a fast Beyer in the fast Gulfstream Oaks, 94 Beyer, when no match for Kathleen by 15% wet track sire Mineshaft. Yuugiri is up next, and she took advantage of a Secret Oath less fantasy. Secret Oath, of course, took on the boys in the Arkansas Derby, and Yuugiri made hay. Let's watch this race. She went right to the front, and she set a legitimate pace. She took pressure. She digs in very gamely when confronted from both sides, and she scores with an 86 Beyer speed figure. She has speed. The problem is so does Echo Zulu, and going a mile and an eighth is a bit of a concern for me as well.
Yeah, I have all those same concerns with her, Dan. I'll give her the credit she deserves just for digging in and holding on to win this race. But as you've already pointed out, it was a great spot for her. One Secret Oath elected to face the boys that day. Listen, I think she's a talented horse. She's very, very fast early, and she could really play a role on the pace in this race. I think she's going to turn out to be much better when they finally cut her back and start sprinting her again.
Shackelford, the sire, 17% winners with wet track runners. She should handle off going. Echo Zulu's up next. She's an unbeaten champion. She won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies last year. You don't see Breeders' Cup races won in that fashion very often. In Ridden Out, she won as easy as she pleased. I'm interested in your take in her seasonal debut, the Fairgrounds Oaks. Now, I know a lot of people expected it to be showtime for her to win very easily. Well, she was just good enough to win on that day. Was it simply a prep and she'll be a lot fitter for this race? Or was it a sign that maybe she was precocious and they've caught up to her at 3?
I mean, I guess we'll find out more on Saturday. Personally, I thought that was a really good performance in the Fairgrounds Oaks. I get it. She barely held on there. Her figure declined. It's actually the slowest race she's ever run in her life on Beyer speed figures. Listen, I thought she ran great that day, Dan. They used her speed in there. Joel Rosario was not rating it up the backstretch. It's not like she walked on the lead and then was still desperate to hold on. I thought she went a legitimate pace. And I thought that she dug in very gamely to hold on and was clearly the best horse in that race. And I would also just point out that it's just very interesting to look up Steve Asmussen's stats with horses off of layoffs like that, because typically, Dan, he gives his horses races. They don't always come back fully cranked up to win. And if she wasn't fully cranked up and still beat that field, she could take a pretty big step forward here on Friday.
Your thoughts on the 1.125, because that's the question that's on a lot of handicappers' minds. She's going to have to stretch her speed 1.125. Timeform US believes the pace will be fast. How concerned are you about the distance?
Yeah, I'm very worried about it, especially because it does feel like there's enough other speed in here to keep her occupied. I will say this, Dan, I'm less worried about it at the 4-1 morning line, and I'll be more worried about it if she comes down off of that price.
I think Venti Valentine, the New York bred, is a true sleeper in this race. We saw her finish second to Nostalgic in the Gazelle, and she really had a good trip that day. She was on the lead. They weren't going very fast, but I have a feeling she might be one of those fillies that's at her best when she has a target to work with and not being the target. And she has two speeds to her inside that can't prove to be targets. I think Venti Valentine's going to set a great trip in this race. Third or fourth on the outside in the clear, and she has run fast enough to contend in a race like this.
She has. I agree with you. I think the trip could really work out for her here. I'm not convinced that I'm not as convinced as you are anyway that she's, a real player in this race, but I guess we'll see. I know she got a fast figure for the Busher, Dan. That wasn't a good field. I still like the race that she ran, but she wasn't beating top horses that day. I did not see the excuse last time in the Gazelle. I mean, she was in control on a very slow pace that day. And when they got down to the last 16, she was no match for Nostalgic in there. I didn't see an excuse for her in that race. And obviously this Kentucky Oaks, as good as Nostalgic is, this race is way tougher than the Gazelle.
Desert Dawn, the number 9, just pulled off an upset in the Santa Anita Oaks, a race we're going to take a peek at right now. And she got a nice trip in this race. Favorite, Adair Manor just didn't fire for whatever reason. Ain't Easy and Adair Manor just battled on the lead. Desert Dawn's had a great spot just off those horses and took advantage. She is improving at the right time. She has a good running style. I want to see her do it again, even though she should be a playable price.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, at the price, I mean, I guess you should just ask yourself, even as she's winning this race off of an absolute perfect trip, I think, at 20 or 30 to 1, you should ask yourself, did she really just take a big step forward last time? And can she do it again with what might be a similar trip, Dan, a big pace in front of her where she can just sit and make run? I mean, I don't love her in here, but it's not impossible to feel like she could factor at a price.
Sire Cupid, 13% winners from wet track runners. How good is Kathleen O for Shug McGahee? A perfect 4 for 4. We're going to watch her most recent performance in the Gulfstream Park Oaks at 1.16 miles. Her first race around 2 turns. You see, Goddess of Fire got the jump on her in here. Kathleen O is just better than she is and ran her down. Do you buy the buyer? 98 for Kathleen O, 94 for Goddess of Fire. Far and away their best number.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't, but I guess we'll see. Listen, I think Kathleen O is really good. I like all 4 of her starts so far. I think she has a lot of talent. She won the Gulfstream Oaks last time, pretty convincingly in her first start around 2 turns. I just want to point out that that was a terrible field. I mean, Goddess of Fire is good. There's nothing wrong with her, but she's not a major player in here. The other 4 horses in there, I don't know. I don't know what they are, but they're not graded stakes horses. That field was awful. This is by far the toughest race that Kathleen O's ever run in.
She has won over a wet track in her career. She would benefit from a fast pace. Cocktail Moments is up next. She is a very likable filly. She's never been off the board from 4 starts, and she's by Uncle Mo, is one of the better wet track stallions, 18% winners. The issue here is she was handled by Nest in the Ashland that we showed you, and she was beaten by Kathleen O in the Devona Dale 2 starts back, so she's got some improving to do.
Yeah, she does. And there are no excuses for her in either the Devona Dale or the Ashland, Dan. She still hasn't fired out of the 70s. She is 3rd off the layoff now, so maybe there's a forward move coming. It better be a big forward move.
Candy Raid really appreciated getting to the synthetic surface last time out in the Bourbonnette Oaks. She pulled off a whopping upset coming from way off of the pace. She was almost 100-1 the last time she ran on dirt in the Rachel Alexandra. She was no match for Turnerloose. If you believe in wet track pedigree, Candy rides 20%. The dam won a couple of times on a wet track. She's got to prove that synthetic form can translate to dirt, and I'm not sure it will.
Me either. She will be off of a fast pace in here, just trying to make one run. Her dirt form obviously leaves a lot to be desired. The Rachel Alexandra, she was just never involved at a big price. I will say though, Dan, the Silver Bullet Day, she only ran a 69, finishing fourth. She ran an underrated race that day. She did not get a great trip, and that performance is a lot better than it looks on paper.
The X factor in this race is the number 13, Shahama, unbeaten from 4 starts in Dubai and visually impressive in every one of those races. Now, I don't think she was facing the quality of competition that she will take on at Churchill Downs on Friday. She's now with Todd Pletcher. She's bound to be a good price. Visually, she looks very, very good. We'll find out how good she is against this group.
Yeah, it's not an easy Kentucky Oaks for them to ship over to run in. It's pretty easy to watch any one of her 4 starts so far, Dan, and be really taken by her. She has a quick acceleration. She has, it feels like she's going to stay the distance just fine as well. It's just a pretty big test for her facing a really good field here. The other thing that I think you have to concern yourself with her, Dan, is in a couple of her starts over there, she did not break great from the gate, and she cannot afford any mistakes against this field.
That's a very, very good point. And I also expect the pace to be a lot faster than what she's used to in Dubai. She could be a lot farther back than where she's usually been in her races. Turnerloose is the 14, a likable horse for Brad Cox dealing with a tough post position. She is a stakes winner on turf. She is a graded winner on dirt. I wonder if tactics worked against her in the Fairgrounds Oaks. It seemed like there was a really concerted effort. Let's not let Echo Zulu get too far away. She got put on a hard chase and she paid the price. When they rate and finish with her, she's okay.
Yeah, and that was those were the tactics they used on the Rachel Alexandra, Dan. Her dirt debut 2 starts back. She did get a really good trip in that race and sort of took advantage. But if nothing else, she showed that maybe as good as she was on turf as a 2-year-old, maybe she's better on dirt. We'll see what kind of trip she can work out from post 14. That's no bargain.
She has a fantastic wet track pedigree. Nyquist, exceptional, good female family on wet as well. One also eligible, Begin, is the 15. She needs scratch help to get in. Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Triple Crown season is here. Get access to all of our videos. Top pick time for the Kentucky Oaks. 1 1/8 at Churchill Downs on Friday. Secret Oath, can't argue with you, Mike. She's been brilliant in her races against fillies. I would like to see Mr. Lucas in the winner's circle after the Oaks.
I would too. Listen, again, I just feel like there's a good trip coming, and I think this is the right race to run her in. Win or lose, I think she is good enough to go with these horses. I'm going to take her because I think there's a chance she goes off a fair price in this race, Dan. I've been very much taken by Nest from the start of her career, and I have her second. I do think she's going to be really tough in here. To me, the toughest call was Echo Zulu. I put her third.
Nest is where I'm going to go. I just think 1 1/8 is her wheelhouse. If she can get a clean trip on the outside, it seems like that's how they ride her. I'm expecting her to come with a strong stretch rally. The price is a bit light, however. 410.57 for me, 147.13 for Mike. It's the Kentucky Oaks, your Friday DRF race of the day. Good luck.